Hello, everybody. Thank you for listening to Shadowboxing. I am so sorry I took another long break. It's just been crazy around here. I traveled a little bit for work, went to San Antonio and went to UFC Noche, came back, and I don't know. I had said I was going to record in San Antonio, and I just didn't. So here I am. I'm going to give you guys a special episode. I'm going to do 3 stories since I took so long to do these. I am working on something that I hope will be really big in the next couple weeks. It's just taking a lot of research, and I want to make sure I get it right. And this person is a very extensive serial killer, so it's a little bit of a hint for you. And I want to make sure I do it justice, make sure I cover all of the things that he did and the connection to combat sports, which is something that you guys all, I think, will like and enjoy. And I'm hoping I could even get an interview, but not with a serial killer, by the way. But we'll see. And also, just a word of warning. I am recording this on Sunday, which is my laundry day. So if you hear the laundry in the background, I apologize. Also, my brand new air conditioner is making a very weird sound, so I hope you can't hear any of that stuff. I am literally just recording this on my phone. I don't have any fancy setup yet. It's just been fun for me to do this. So again, thank you for listening, and here we go. All right, the first of my 3 stories is Karl Roberson. I just happened to be writing the script a few weeks ago, so that's how long I sit on these things, you guys. And I hadn't even realized at first that he was fighting yesterday. Now that I'm recording this Sunday, he fought yesterday. So it actually kind of works out because he's a topic of discussion right now. So here's a little bit about what happened with Karl Roberson. So in 2023, former UFC fighter Karl Roberson was arrested in connection with a 2022 jewelry heist. So before I get to the crime, I want to give you a little bit of a background on Roberson, just in case you aren't sure of who he is. He made his professional MMA debut in New Jersey at Ring of Combat 51 in June of 2015. He won the fight via decision and fought 3 more times before appearing on Dana White's Contender Series in July 2017. He won his Dana White Contender Series fight via a stunning 15-second knockout of Ryan Spann. His official UFC debut took place just a few months later at UFC Norfolk. I probably said that wrong. I apologize to people who live there, where he won via a first-round submission over Darren Stewart. He fought under the UFC banner 9 more times, losing to big names like Glover Teixeira, Khalil Roundtree, Marvin Vettori, and Brendan Allen. After his release from the UFC, he fought under the Gamebred Bare Knuckle MMA banner, but lost that fight as well. To date, he hasn't won a fight since November 2019. And now the crime. According to ESPN, Roberson was charged with, quote, burglary, theft, criminal mischief, possession of a controlled dangerous substance, and several weapon offenses, unquote, stemming from a robbery which occurred in a home in New Jersey. So it gets a little complicated here. So he was arrested after his vehicle that he was driving was linked to the crime. So he was pulled over and the police searched the car. They found a handgun, crack cocaine, marijuana, and items related to the robbery. It doesn't say what those items are, but maybe it's things he stole, maybe it's gloves, I don't know. So it says items related to the robbery. He spent a few weeks in jail before being released on bail. So the person who he robbed was actually a friend of his. So he was arrested alongside another man, and they entered the home on December 26th and stole $2,000 worth of exotic jewelry and other valuables. And despite wearing gloves and masks, they were caught on video inside and outside the home. So this home had a lot of video surveillance. And the home was, like I said, a childhood friend, and whose name was Ryan Leonard. So Leonard told Fox News that the pair stole his $80,000 Rolex presidential watch, $60,000 worth of Cuban chains, and a $30,000 bracelet, among other items. The victim is an Army veteran and owns his own business. Leonard said he recognized the pink shoes in the surveillance video and identified that as his friend. He also was considered Roberson's right-hand man, and he accompanied him around the world. So it wasn't just this childhood friend that he lost touch with. It was actually somebody he was still currently friends with. You can see pictures of the two of them together. I posted one on my Instagram. But it seems like this guy might have even been in his corner during fights, maybe not officially cornering him, but there during fight week. He definitely seemed like a close friend. It wasn't just some friend that he, like I said, lost touch with. So here's a quote that Leonard told Fox News. "We did before and after videos of the house that I directly sent to Karl, showing him the before and after, thinking we're on the same page. We're both from Neptune. We're both successful. Like, hey man, check out the new digs." He used those before and after videos to map out my house, basically, and know where the bedroom was. It shows the closet, the remodel, and he clearly knew I had jewelry because I wear it everywhere. That's pretty sad that you can't even trust your own friends if this turns out to be true. If convicted, Roberson could face up to 10 years in prison. And at this time, I couldn't find any updates on if the trial had happened, if he had been convicted, if charges had been dropped. But I'm gonna guess that he's either awaiting trial or he was convicted and is out on parole. The reason why I say that is because, like I said, he competed yesterday at BKFC, and he made headlines because he was wearing an ankle monitor while he was there in the fight. That is crazy to me. I don't think that I've ever seen that before. So he's either wearing this ankle monitor because he's out on bail and they want to make sure he doesn't leave, or he's maybe out on parole, and that could be a condition of his parole based off of a conviction. Like I said, I could not find anything on where this went, but I can tell that he's definitely, there's still a connection there somewhere. And if you're curious, he did not win that fight. So stay tuned for the next of the 3 stories. All right, my next one is Raja Jackson. I hope I'm saying Raja correct. I guess I should have looked on the numerous videos of people talking about him to check the pronunciation, but you guys, I just wanted to get this out here. So apologize if I'm not pronouncing his name correct. So he has been in the news a ton lately in the last few months, and I was actually not going to cover this because I thought that that it was talked about it a little bit too much, and I felt like everybody already knew, so why talk about it? But some new stuff has happened, so I figured, might as well talk about it. So, I do have a lot of people who listen to this for the true crime aspect, not the combat sports aspect, so here we go. So, in August, Raja Jackson, who is the son of UFC legend Quinton Rampage Jackson, was seen on video appearing to brutally attack Stuart Smith in the middle of their pro wrestling match in LA. So when this happened, the video went viral. Everybody was watching it. It was pretty bad. Looked like an MMA fight, which a wrestling match should not look like anyways. But there was some, I would say there was some debate between, some people thought it was staged for publicity. Some people thought it was actually just part of the script. I think that most people realized it was not real, but there was a little bit of confusion there because there was no arrest made afterwards. And it seemed like, if this was correct, or if this was a real attack, why wasn't there an arrest made? But we'll get there. So the video shows Jackson striking Smith while he's unconscious on the mat before being pulled off of him by several people. So when he first started striking him, I think that a lot of people, the referee at least, looked confused in the sense of like he didn't want to pull him off because he wasn't sure if that was part of the script. I mean, and he clearly wasn't part of it, but maybe they were going, improv. I don't know. It looked like the ref was sort of like waiting to see what was going to happen. And in that time, Jackson struck Smith 24 times before being pulled off. So it was pretty bad. And, some people were dissecting the way that his, Smith's head hit the canvas, and like, oh, well, if you're knocked unconscious, why does your head do this? And what is, all of that was silly. To me, it looked real. After the match, fans called for Jackson to be immediately arrested and banished from the sport. And then we found out a little bit more. So as the days went on, we found out some more information. Apparently, there is a video of Smith doing something to Jackson backstage that Smith says he thought that Jackson was aware of this. But you know how they do like the if you don't watch wrestling, sometimes they do things backstage or whatever beforehand to kind of like get the crowd excited for their match. So I guess that he had done that, something like that, and Jackson wasn't aware that he was going to do that, and that pissed him off. And then Jackson went live from between that moment backstage until their actual in-cage or in-ring match, and was talking to people, and people were saying, I don't know, people were sort of egging it on. Jackson said he was going to make him pay. I don't know. It seemed like Jackson was really taking it personally. And actually, Smith was actually heard apologizing to Jackson. So he said, hey, I'm sorry, guy. I didn't know. You weren't aware. And it seemed like they had squashed it. But then when they got into the ring, clearly that was not the case. So the match was on something called, now I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this right, KnokX Pro Wrestling. It's spelled KNOKX Pro Wrestling. And they put out a statement afterwards saying, what was supposed to be a planned and agreed upon wrestling spot turned into a selfish, irresponsible act of violence against Mr. Smith. This egregious act is reprehensible and never should have occurred. So another thing that the fans sort of hooked on during that time was Rampage Jackson, his father's response to it. It seemed like for a few days after, he was making a lot of excuses for his son, downplaying the severity of it. And it wasn't until recently that Quentin now says that he has disowned his son and, doesn't agree with his actions, but it does sort of seem confusing to fans because he was acknowledging or downplaying it at the beginning. So, like I said, the video circulated online, but Jackson wasn't even arrested until September 19th, which is about 2 weeks ago. And that was nearly a month after the actual incident. So that fueled, like I said, people saying it wasn't real, whatever. I don't know why it took so long to make the arrest, but he did get arrested. In fact, there's a video of him being led away in handcuffs. I cannot talk, guys. Handcuffs. He was held on a $50,000 bail. And he has since been, actually, I don't know if he's been released. I haven't seen him out and about, but he is on $50,000 bail. I don't know if he's been released. I should look that up. Smith was actually hospitalized after the attack and was sent home August 31st. He says he suffered, quote, trauma to his jaws, a laceration to his lip, a maxillia bone fracture, and the loss of several teeth after the attack. So a lot of, a lot of stuff happened there to his face. Jackson faces felony charges stemming from the incident. And his father, Rampage Jackson, appeared on the Ariel Helwani show on September 3rd and spoke about it. And so here's what he had to say. And I think this is one of the most recent interviews that he's given.
Fuck all that. Roger, I think that he should do a little time, do a little community service, and go to anger management class, see some therapy.
But that goes like some people said it was attempted murder and things like that. That's not a little time.
It wasn't attempted murder because he wasn't trying to kill that guy.
How do you know?
Because that's my son. I know my son. Roger wasn't trying to kill nobody. He wasn't trying to kill that. He wasn't trying to kill that guy. Roger probably didn't even know how bad he hurt that guy. He wasn't trying to kill that guy. The problem is everything got blown out of proportion, and people thought that Roger snuck into the fucking ring and did that. That's what the problem is. Like, at this point, Roger was in the act. as a pro wrestler, but he ain't no fucking pro wrestler. The promoters had no reason putting my son in that fucking ring. So, but it was no attempted fucking murder.
You know what? I kind of have to believe him. I don't believe that he was trying to kill him. I think that he was very, very angry, and I think that he absolutely should serve time, and I wouldn't even say a little bit of time. I think he needs to serve, a good amount of time. I don't think he was trying to murder him. That may not be a popular opinion, but, and that could have happened. He could have killed him not knowing, but I don't believe that he was trying to kill him. I don't know. I guess we'll have to see what happens, because there's been no court date that I'm aware of. I don't know, where this is going to head. We'll have to keep our eye on it. But I would love to know what you guys think. Do you guys think that he was trying to kill him? Do you think he deserves attempted murder charges? What do you think happened? I'd love to know. And with that, I'm going to tell our third story. All right, our third story is about another pro wrestler. This is interesting because I don't do many wrestling stories. I don't follow wrestling all that much, but these are things that have come up on my timeline, and I thought maybe we should talk about them. So this story is about, and I really hope I'm saying this person's name correct, Masha Slamovich. That's their pro wrestling name, so that's what I'm going to go by. Slamovich is actually a very clever name for a wrestler, but here we go. So earlier this week, and when I say earlier this week, I mean like 2 weeks ago, because I wrote this 2 weeks ago, whatever. So I'd say in September, because now we're in October. So last month, Masha Slamovich, who competes under the TNA banner, was accused by a former partner of abuse. So a Twitter user under the name Bam/Jasmine shared a series of screenshots and a link to a Dropbox of text messages allegedly from Masha to her partner, who is not Bam/Jasmine, which say things like, "You cursed at me, that's why you got hit." So the messages are allegedly between Masha and another wrestler named Akira. They also include photos of Akira with bruises and marks allegedly from Masha. So all of this is in the tweet and in the link that this person provided on Twitter. After the photos surfaced, Masha released a statement which reads, in part, "Up until the beginning of this year, I was in a toxic and mutually destructive relationship. We hurt each other deeply and in private moments failed to treat each other with the consideration and respect we both deserve. I take responsibility for my actions, and I am sorry, embarrassed, and ashamed of the role I played in our relationship and the way things turned out." So as statements go, that's a pretty good one. She seems to take responsibility. She seems to apologize. Doesn't seem like, well, she does say mutually destructive relationship, so she is placing a little bit of blame on her partner. But overall, I mean, that's a pretty good one. We see some really bad ones, and this one, I thought that one was pretty decent. Since the news broke, she has been removed from the Victory Road event, which took place on September 26th, and an internal investigation is ongoing. So I don't know if anything's going to come of this. There hasn't been a lot more than just what I read here, at least since since this last week. Again, I don't follow pro wrestling, so there could be things that I'm not seeing on my timeline, but I haven't seen much more from this. It is, I don't want to say refreshing because that's such a terrible word, but it is not normal to see women as the aggressors. And so it is nice to see that people are taking a woman as the aggressor seriously, because we know that that does happen. It's not as common, but it definitely does happen. And it's nice to see that they're taking it serious, that they're not just blowing it off like, oh, she's a woman, so it can't be that bad. I really do appreciate that. So that's what I mean by refreshing. I don't think that this is refreshing at all, but that's the last one. It was the smallest one I had. I don't have a lot of information, but I thought it was interesting to talk about. And if you are a pro wrestling fan and know more about this and have details I didn't didn't cover, please let me know. I'll update if we get any more information, if there's any. I don't see that there being any arrests. Maybe she'll get fired, but beyond that, I don't see anything more, but who knows? So again, thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I try to keep these short. I know we don't have a lot of time on our hands. I listen to podcasts, and I always wish that I could listen to an entire episode from my drive to and from work when I don't have to get to work in the middle of a podcast and then have to listen to the rest of it on the way home. So that's kind of why I like to do them short. Again, I'll have more coming up soon. Hopefully, let me know in the comments who you want me to cover. I'm trying to avoid covering super obvious people with the exception of John Jones, just because that was my first episode and I felt like that was a good warm-up. But yeah, so I like to know like little known stories. I want to tell you guys something maybe you haven't heard before. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, bye.